Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. Uh, Before I start off, I wanted to say sorry about the large gap in between this video and the last one. Uh, some plans went awry, life happens, that kind of thing. I actually did record a couple of videos. Uh, one of them is related to the one I'm doing today. Uh, Little bit of a story with this one. I had two different videos I wanted to try to do before this book I'm talking about today came out. I thought I had a couple of weeks to do that, and then I checked the release date again on Tuesday, and I looked, and I'm like, oh no, it comes out in 2 days. I thought it was 28th, but this author has a tendency of advancing his release dates incredibly sometimes, which I usually do not mind at all, and ultimately I still didn't mind this time because I've been waiting for this book to come out for a while. But today we're going to be talking about Dungeon Walk. There we go. Dungeon Walkers 2 by Daniel Shinhofen. I wanted to do a video on the first book in the series before this one came out, just kind of in preparation. But at the same time, I was trying to not have one author really dominating the videos that I already had, so I was trying to spread it out a little bit. And actually, I had already recorded a video for Alpha World, which I don't want to spoil anything for the first book. There's kind of this little bit of a reveal. Let's just say if you've read Alpha World before you read the Dungeon World books, there's going to be some things that you understand a little better and that you get a little better. It's not required. I'm going to go ahead and just say that up front. I do not think it's really required at all. Just there are a few things that hit a little bit more if you've read those books. And they're also really good books. I will be releasing a video on that. I just don't know if it's the video I recorded because I don't know. I have to go back and watch it. I'm not sure I did. I'm not sure I did that series justice. I tried to, and I think I came close. That one may be showing up sooner rather than later, but just let that be said. Highly recommend reading Alpha World. Anyway, sorry, I got a notification on my phone. Don't mind that. Uh, Dungeon Walker. Dungeon Walker. Okay, so I guess I need to talk about the first book a little bit before I can talk about this one. In the first book, we follow our protagonist Stern as he prepares to enter his first dungeon. The world they live on, there's a series of dungeons. They're laid out in tiers, and there's 3 dungeons per tier, and they're labeled according to various metals. He's at the lead stage, which is the earliest stage. And the first book really follows his progression through the lead stage, which he does all on his own at first. Well, all on his own. We can't forget Polly. Polly is his summons he's had since he was a child. The way the skills. This is kind of lit RPG-ish. I would call it maybe lit RPG light, in that at every time you are born with a certain number of perks that give you certain skills, and then for each dungeon you clear, you gain another perk. And one of his starting perks when he was born was Polly, a summons, a 6-toed cat that is a fluffy, lovable little murder machine. A great character in his own right. I'm a cat person sometimes when they're not annoying me. But I like Polly. Polly's cool. And so him and Polly, they clear the first 3 dungeons. But after clearing the 3rd dungeon, he winds up going in to recover the shards for someone that had been lost in that dungeon. Because when you die in a dungeon, you're not dead. Your soul is divided up into a set of 4 shards, and if people go in and use the points they gain while clearing the dungeon, they can recover your shards. And there's a newbie that got lost in the dungeon, and it's the right thing. He goes in and pulls those shards out. And in doing so, through a whole series of events, he gains his first party member, Syrah, who is a rabbit. I think they call them the Lycan, Beastkin. It's the same kind of concept. She's a humanoid rabbit, and she becomes his first party member. And so he winds up taking her back through the first three dungeons to get her levels up, trains her up, and they end up where he starts, where they get their next party member, Trish. Trish is a kind of old hand. She had actually advanced to the fully through the 10 stage, which is the next stage of dungeons. And but through things, once again, I don't want to really spoil things. I don't want to give you the whole story. I'm just trying to give you a little kind of brief synopsis. But Trish, for various reasons, had kind of left the Walker life for a while, and she was just a crafter. Well, things happen. They form their party, and that's kind of where we leave off on the first book, and then we get to book two. Trish, Syrah, and Stern. They're on their way. They're on their way to the 10 stage now, but that it's new ball game, new stakes, and a normal dungeon walking party is 6 people, and so they need to get some new members. Like, there's no way you really need to get more than 3 people. Otherwise, you're just going to wind up having your soul sit in the dungeon waiting for somebody to recover it for who knows how many years. This is something that comes up throughout these books often because it's kind of Stern's kind of main impetus in going into becoming a walker. He wants to become one of the people that goes in to get people that have been lost, and they're called the rescue party. And so it's a theme that kind of pops up a lot. How the walkers should stick together. They should look out for each other. Someone gets lost, someone from your party gets lost in the dungeon, you should do everything you can to get them out of that dungeon. That should be the way it is. And through his example, he wants to help make that the way things are. And, there's a little bit of that going on in here. But anyway, Trish, Syrah, Stern, they make their way to the next city. They find, 2 new party members, Cammy and, his name is kind of, it's, Yusk. Oh, or yours? It's kind of a weird name. It didn't stick in my head well, but they're a brother sister dwarf pair, and the brother's kind of surly, bit of a drunk. It makes and but a good fighter. And Cammy is a trapsmith, someone that's good at finding and setting traps, and so it kind of balances out the party a little bit, and so they form a team and they progress through the 10 stage. And a lot of my expectations were really subverted here because I really expected it to just, I was kind of expecting, it's just them kind of moving through 10 stage, but there are a lot of interesting little wrinkles that popped up. Some aspects from the original book kind of came, a couple of little things that happened there kind of came back to haunt them in this one. And I, once again, I'm trying not to spoil it, but this book just came out, so let me just now get into just generalities and saying, great book, great book. There were numerous times I was like, oh, I know how this is going to end. Oh, I know how this is going to end. And every time, I'd get a little further in, I'm like, oh, no, we're resolving this bit a little bit differently and earlier than I thought. Oh, wait, no, oh, now there's this. And so, yeah, every time I kind of like, oh, yeah, I know what's going on. Like, yeah, it pulled a little bit of a, left turn on me. And I'm like, oh, wait, no, okay, yeah, no, cool. And ultimately, like, yeah, I really enjoyed this book, really did. like I said, I'm trying to avoid spoiling anything, especially for book one, for book one and especially book two, because it just came out yesterday. Highly recommend you pick it up. Well, if you haven't read the first one, pick up the first one first. Highly recommend that one as well. I haven't read the second one twice yet. I started reading it again, but just due to the way work wound up falling, I finished it after work, and starting a book immediately after I finished another one, I always have a little bit of trouble with that. If I'd actually managed to finish it before work, I probably would have already started or completed my second read through already. That will be happening, and maybe I'll do another video on this one sometime to kind of, get a little bit more into what's going on. But like I said, trying not to spoil anything. But the new characters, Cammy is a treasure. Her brother is winds up being interesting. Maybe not. He has interesting flaws, backstory. He has character, and there's a nice arc to him, really, and there's a nice arc to how the new characters, kind of fit into the old crew, and the old crew. I want to say they do grow a little bit, but this story is more just spending some more time with them, and really kind of spotlighting these new characters a little bit. So it's Daniel Shinhofen. I love his stuff. You should give his stuff a try. It's another winner for him. I've There are few books of his that I would even consider kind of not as good as the others. And even then, sometimes that's usually more just a little bit like it just, sometimes the book doesn't resonate with me 100%, but I still enjoy it a lot. And I enjoyed this one. And if you've read any of his other stuff, there's a pretty good chance you'll enjoy this one too. And especially if you've read Alpha World. If you've read Alpha World and you haven't read the Dungeon World books yet, pick them up. You will enjoy it. But with that being said, we're kind of getting long on time here. I hope I've, provided some help. If you like what I'm doing, like, subscribe, comment. Thank you for watching. Take it easy.